Nothing said on the Touchgrass podcast is a recommendation to buy or sell any investments or products. This podcast is for informational purposes only, and the views expressed by anyone on the show are solely their opinions only, not financial advice or necessarily the views of the Touchgrass podcast. Our hosts, guests, and the Touchgrass podcast team may hold positions in the companies, funds, or projects discussed. Enjoy the show.
GM everyone, welcome back to another episode of Touchgrass Podcast. We've been doing a bunch of these trader spotlight episodes recently, and today we have Professor Satoshi, one of the earliest users. We highlighted a lot of hyperliquid traders, but this is something that's more personal for me because I'm a lighter bow at heart. But yeah, welcome to the show, sir. How are you?
KG, G Lighter, thanks for having me on. I'm really excited to do this. Can't wait.
G Lighter indeed. Before we get started, why don't you give a quick intro about yourself, your background in the space? I know you are also a TradFi person. You talk a lot about stocks, but your just journey as a trader and investor, your background in crypto.
Yeah, sure. So I came over from TradFi into crypto back in 2020 was my sort of when I left Wall Street. I was previously at Morgan Stanley um, and PwC. I also did a little bit of a short stint at Google for a year. But I got Bitcoin pilled actually in 2016. That was when I first got my first Bitcoin. I was still in college. Um, and I had thought I was a genius because that 2016 to 2017 bull run, I think I picked up Bitcoin for around 1,500, $2,000, I forget. Um, and that was back then when Coinbase had no KYC. You could buy with a credit card. Pretty funny how far we've come. But I thought I was a genius. I rode Bitcoin from 2000 to 20,000, and I sold it, and I had all these other EOS, and like all these other coins. I bought Decentraland, Mana. Uh, those are sort of like my key trades and how I got into crypto. But my bread and butter is actually options trading. So I run like a small family and friends fund, mainly trading um, vanilla style, American style options on both Bitcoin, large indexes, and special sort of thematic names. But it's nothing fancy, like mainly running different volatility yield strategies with options. And then, of course, the on crypto Twitter, I largely do a lot of my degen trading and sharing of various bets on Robinhood, SpaceX, the occasional Bitcoin bottom calling that either works or I think I have a decent track record. I'm not perfect by any means, but I think my worst call so far this year was definitely the ETH at 2000 call. But my best call was definitely the March bottoming in on peak Iran war fears. But yeah, I'm happy to peel back the onion on any particular topics.
100%. I mean, for regarding the ETH thing, everyone I think falls at least one for those. This time is different. Solana.
I believe
But
in I actually think Ethereum is way too hated. Like, there's so much institutional activity on it. Is it overvalued? Is it undervalued? I think is up for debate.
yeah,
I don't particularly agree with the valuation methods of the TradFi folks saying that you need a discounted cash flow on ETH, but I also, don't agree with the crypto guy saying that, oh, what is the total market cap of all of the stuff on ETH? I mean, if you did that comparison, it's like, okay, what is the total market cap of BlackRock?
exactly.
It's not going to be their AUM, that's for sure. I mean, BlackRock has what, like
Yeah.
15 trillion AUM? I don't even know the last number. It's probably like 14 or 15 trillion now. But they don't have
Yeah.
a $15 trillion, stock, for example.
Yeah, one of the things I think I recently tweeted is not all of them, but maybe few of them is the hyperliquid has been, one of the best things ever, and probably is also one of the worst things as well, just for investors, because it has created this framework of revenues and buybacks where everyone is putting everything into that same box, and it feels like a lot of these people who have been kind of just fully pilled on this, even though it's an amazing thing and it should win. We should all cheer for it. But it's just created this dynamic of you're disregarding everything else, right? If it doesn't generate even enough revenue or enough this or enough that metric, just dismissing it. And I felt that most people who still have that framework are going to miss out on a lot of layup plays this cycle. But yeah, why don't we start there, right?
Uh,
Uh,
on the
what do you
hyperliquid
think? Yeah,
buybacks.
buybacks, revenues, this whole framework of everything should make it so much of revenue, all of that should go back to token holders. I think is one of the biggest debates right now, where the first thing people are checking is how much is this team pushing back the like value accrual and shit. But yeah, what are your general thoughts about it, and how do you look at it? Let's compare it to lighter as well.
So I think that buybacks are a good thing. The balance of it is up for debate. And I think in large part the debate is around like how much buybacks are done, because I mean large mega cap stocks do this too. I guess to the extent you can say that they're not doing it as much anymore because of all this AI capex spend that they're doing, and they're not buying back stocks anymore. Um, but you see this in TradFi too, right? So it's not a new invention of the hyperlink. It's not a new innovation by any means. So if you're TradFi background, like this is quite something that you're probably quite familiar with. The level and extent, I guess, is up for debate, and like how much a team does, because you can either do a very aggressive strategy like Hyperliquid did, and that worked very well, right? Like after DYDX exploded, I think DYDX is still kicking around, but there was a gap in the market, and Jeff saw that gap, and he took it to the next level and said, "Okay, we're going to use all the fees to buy back the token." And that was a very easy narrative for traders, crypto Twitter, TradFi to understand, because okay, you know, for a long time there's been a issue in the industry where token didn't actually mean equity. Um, if I buy Apple stock, if I buy a stock that offers a dividend, I am an owner of this company. I literally own a fraction of this company, and I can get a dividend based on the success of this company. This is like very old school Warren Buffett way of
Yeah,
investing. So all these tokens for the last, call it 4 or 5 years, there was not a very clear way of like, okay, how does the owner of this token actually benefit? It's like, okay, I get a vote, I get a governance vote on some stuff, like a shareholder vote. Okay, sure. But how does the revenues, if there are any, actually go back to, someone who owns the token? And that mapping wasn't quite there until there to some extent the L1s had somewhat of a mapping, but Hyperliquid, it was so easy. It was like, okay, trading, there's so many crypto traders. If we get more traders, more volume, there's more fees, and then if more fees, more buybacks, token go up, and boom, like easiest narrative be born ever. Now I think like where there like what if Hyperliquid didn't do, not like, what is it, 97%, I think it is. What if they did 50 and then they used the other 50% to do marketing or customer acquisition or whatever to get 100% of all of crypto traders, right? Like all of Binance, all of Bybit, all of OKX, all of Coinbase, all of Kraken, all of you know all the other exchanges. Um, Maybe it would have been a different story, and arguably it could have been even bigger than what it is now, right? So you can model that out. Not going to do that live on the stream, but the token did well regardless. It's just that there's different strategies and different approaches to it. Um, and Jeff and team, and there's no right or wrong. I think that you know the 97% buyback, you know, really, really took Hyperliquid to where it is at today. And, would
yeah,
you reverse that if you were them? I don't think so. But you do kind of sometimes think like, what if they actually took, you know, 25% of it to do growth? For example, Lighter is going a different way. Like Vlad
100%.
has, yeah, like he's going after the US market. The US market obviously is largest capital markets. I don't even know what the market cap is like 670 69 trillion market cap S&P 500. So you have the largest capital pool here, and he's trying to grow the US market. So he's going by the way of the regulatory route and making sure that they're buttoned up with the CFTC. I do like that angle. I think the
Yeah.
regulatory sort of route is sort of an edge in some ways, especially if you're thinking of it at the business level. So, and of course, Lighter can't do the buybacks that Hyperliquid does. But you can calculate actually as a percentage of the outstanding float. I think they bought back 6% in 2 quarters, so 3%, 1% of the float each month, on average. And that's a pretty decent sized Yeah, you just pulled it up. There you go. I think people have been floating these charts around on on crypto Twitter. So is it actually that large of a spread, 6 and 3, basically?
Yeah, I think so. I think the buybacks have, they've just been making a lot more money over the couple of months, and I think they've gone from, I don't know, 30 40K, and right now I think they're averaging 75 to 100K per day of revenue. So it has gone up, and it's not gone up significantly, but we're definitely seeing a bump in those buybacks, and that's just, I mean, it's way less size compared to hyperliquid, so obviously you can understand that they're just able to buy back a lot more. But yeah, I think the spread is definitely that much bigger. But I mean, the size of the market caps is so much different, so it's understandable.
Right, right. Yeah. The market cap of Lighter, I mean, I think is so low. I think you even mentioned, at 80 cents, it just made no sense at all. And I think we're both sitting on a nice 2x for the
Yeah,
year so far if you entered around there.
yeah.
So yeah, I think like eventually the market will catch on, and I think there's a lot of tailwinds for Lighter.
When I first started using Lighter, maybe a couple of 2020, like very early on, I used it, and I got like good number of points and stuff, but I stopped it and maybe restarted it a couple of months before the TGE. Everyone was like, this zero fees narrative kind of blew up, and then everyone was like, can hyperliquid sustain this? And we had a couple of months there where people were a little bearish in the thought that zero fees was not sustainable and all of this. And I think people still hold that kind of argument against lighter. But I've recently, been testing other products and stuff like that, and zero fees is just a game changer. Like, we're not someone who is, clipping tens of millions in size, and obviously hyperliquid has better depth and liquidity for some of these equity pairs and stuff. But for someone retail user, I would say less than six figures in port, I think lighter is like the best place to go and trade pretty much all majors and most altcoins, and they have good listings on other things as well. I'm not shilling lighter, guys. I'm just a power user from day one, and just talking about with Professor on what's the play here, because everyone talks about hyperliquid, and a lot of these maxis kind of always dismiss lighter, and we're just trying to understand what's the play here, what's going to happen. But yeah, why don't we talk about when did you first discover lighter? Like, go back to the early days. I think you said you're like one of the first 50 users.
Yeah.
What was that like in those days and now, like this whole journey?
So I was trading on Bybit for all my crypto stuff and Deribit. I'm largely on those. I was largely on those two, Q1 of 2025, and then I had met. So I'm friends with Hans Solar, and Hans Solar had told me to check out Lighter. We've been tracking dexes since the options dexes like Hedgic back in the day. There was also DYDX. So we've been tracking the DEX space together, and he told me that I should really check out Lighter. I faded him for about 3 months. He first told me that, I think, October of 2024. And I was just tired. I was like, there's so many like Hyperliquid just came out. I didn't think that, Lighter could beat out Hyperliquid at all. But then I met with Vlad for a cup of coffee in New York City. I'm originally from New York City, born and raised.
Go
And when I
next.
had met, yeah, let's go Knicks. So when I met Vlad, I knew that, okay, this guy's not a grifter. In crypto, there's so many projects that are grifters. They do a little dex. It's like a, it works. Is it good? But that's up for debate. But Vlad, ex quant from Citadel, he was working in AI research. He was researching AI in like 2009. Um, he is literally the guy to build something like this, and he is the type of guy that wants to succeed too. So when I met him last year, it was around late February or early March. That was when I knew, okay, I'm gonna really pay attention to this company. It's a very small company. Nobody really knows about it. If you posted about it back then, you got 1,000 views. Maybe in like towards the airdrop, you get, I think some of my posts got like 100,000 views. And
Yeah.
now Lighter's out there. It's not going away. People in crypto, I feel really bad for the industry because a lot of projects you have founders that are really, really not made out to be founders. They're short-term thinking. The token launches, they sell or they pivot. I mean, there's so many of these that I hate to just even go through the list. And they think that Vlad is one of them. And I think that it's really important to say out loud that like he's he's very obviously not one of them, and he's working with the regulators to make sure Lighter's positioned for success for the long term. So
Yeah.
I'm not talking about the next hourly candle on Lighter, the token. I'm not talking about the next week of growth for users. I'm not talking about the next month for buybacks. And I'm not talking about the next quarter for what product updates they'll have. I think the play on Lighter is really it's a 500 million market cap coin. We have meme coins that are like what, like 2 billion, 3 billion, 4 billion, whatever. So so I think the mentality of like the crypto traders and investors was really, really skewed negatively because of the historical sort of like
Yeah.
PTSD from all these other grifting projects, so that
Correct.
we couldn't people couldn't recognize good from bad. And it's not to their own faults. Like the market conditioned them to not trust anybody. Did the token nuke in the first quarter of the year? Yeah, it nuked. It totally nuked, and that caught me off guard personally. I was not expecting, equities to
Same.
really. Well, I wasn't expecting Bitcoin either. I was quite sort of positioned bullishly, but then I had to really reverse all my thought
Yeah.
process. But I mean, is that like because Vlad, like the team is like scammers? No, the fundamentals were still there. You even recognize you posted about this too. I have this as my pinned tweet on my Twitter profile when we were at 80 cents. And I said, plow your entire life savings because this makes absolutely no sense. This valuation for the
Yeah.
team that has a $70 million sort of funding now. And the other thing is like the VCs. So
Yeah.
like people think in crypto VCs is bad, but in TradFi, guess what? VC, depending on which VC is backing you, it's actually a good thing. It's like, oh, they trust you. That means that you must be a good CEO. You must have a good team. You must have a good idea. You must have good execution. But in crypto, it got bastardized because you have pretty somewhat predatory VCs where they're like, when does the
Correct.
token unlock? When does the token unlock? When does the token unlock? When does the token unlock? And all they care about is the token unlocking and then selling for to make money for their investors. Whereas like OpenAI had investors too. Anthropic has investors, SpaceX has investors, and Amazon has investors, Google has investors. So I don't hear the same crypto traders, saying what happened about those VCs. Like, look, these companies are $1 trillion companies
Yeah.
with VCs with investors, right? So, like even SpaceX investors, they're going to unlock, in August, 7% per month, I think, through the end of the year, and then it steps up a little bit. So
That's gonna be something though.
yeah,
It's,
yeah, we could talk about SpaceX too, but I
yeah.
just think that like Lighter at that valuation, at it was like 250 million market cap. I was like, this makes
Yeah.
okay, this makes literally no sense. I sold
I
some
think
like my S&P 500. I sold some QQQ. I sold some of my Nvidia. I sold some of like a little bit of everything just to like buy a little bit more spot
Yeah.
um, lighter because I mean it just made no sense and I knew the project very well. I was watching it, tracking it very closely. I do bull post it, but not for just random bull posting it. Like there are strong fundamentals, and I think crypto is going through that re-rating right now of like where are the fundamentals in this bear market, and we're gonna see some crazy stuff coming once we're finished with this bear market. I think we're very close, um, price wise, maybe like 10% on Bitcoin, but yeah, we
Yeah.
could talk about all that stuff.
But yeah, I mean, before general market thoughts on Bitcoin and others, like what convinced me, like at 80 cents for lighter, is I just kept on using it, right? It's not like, oh, okay, the TG is done, I got a good airdrop, fuck off this DEX, let me just move on to something else. That didn't happen. That didn't happen
Right.
where even if I tried everything else, I just came back to lighter because the retention was real for me, right? And every time you see on Twitter, we saw like for a week or so Aster screenshots going viral and everything. But if you kind of pay attention to the top traders, people who actually do volume, who are good traders, who are bullish on hyperliquid as well, they kept on posting stuff from Lighter itself. That may and I asked around like, are you still like what's your primary venue? And most of them are like, I still trade on Lighter. And that kind of made me realize that even though a lot of people move size and stuff, people are sticking to lighter because of zero fees. The liquidity is good enough for at least the
Well,
majors.
I want to clear the air. Like I have a pretty large account on Lighter.
Yeah,
Um, so I think that there is a notion where like Lighter is only for little small fish, 5,000, $10,000 accounts.
no, no, not at
Um,
all.
I think that, there are, I know several people actually with like, a couple $100,000 accounts. Even some folks with like
Yeah,
seven figs on there, but like even like I know so Robinhood got grouped up in there too. So when Robinhood came on the scene, I was at Morgan Stanley. Um, and I was in the wealth management group and we had our eye on Robinhood and their zero fee structure. And a lot of my seniors, so a lot of all of these EDs, um, they're like, who is this tech guy from California? Um, and get give me 1 second.
sure.
Yeah, so they were like thinking they're not going to survive after their funding runs out, that how the zero fee thing doesn't work. And I just knew that when people said, the zero fee thing won't work for lighter, that the same thing was happening in 2015, that was happening in 2025. So, and I even posted about this. The other thing is that like we thought that they wouldn't be able to attract large accounts and large deposits. And look at them now after 10 years. And now I know 10 years is a long time for crypto traders. Like 1 week is a long time for crypto traders. But over a 10-year period, that company has grown. I mean, we could pull up the Robinhood chart later. Like
Yeah,
I don't think there's any upset Robinhood investor from the 2015 era. Depends, I guess, where you got in. But like yeah, the growth story was there, and it was a lot about their go-to-market strategy. So
yeah,
they were, and even some of my friends who are quants in New York City, like they trade on Robinhood. Of course, they also are on Interactive Brokers too. So they trade on. You don't have to just be on one venue. There's like a lot in this crypto world. There's like very I don't know how to describe it. There's like, uh, I'm only gonna use Ethereum. I'm only gonna use Solana. I'm only gonna use Lighter. I'm only gonna use Hyperliquid. Like
yeah.
you are allowed to use multiple things, and you are allowed to be bullish on multiple things. It's kind of funny in crypto because that does not really happen in TradFi. Like people, you kind of want the other people to be successful because that means you're in the same industry and that means you're also going to be successful too.
I think what I meant like for not attracting is, when you see on Twitter in general, the sentiment of the last couple of months, every time it's negative lighter, and everyone just max bull posting hype. But when I kind of reached out to these people, I'm like, where you're trading? Most of these guys are like, I still trade like most of my volume on Lighter itself. There's just zero fees. There's no post TGE. I don't face any issues. The mobile app is good, and Hyperliquid doesn't really have a mobile app. And so all these catalysts kind of just made me like, you rarely have this kind of conviction trade where everyone still is underestimating what's the true potential here, as you said with Robinhood over the last 3 or 4 years. I see something similar where everyone's still using it. Nothing has changed. Team keeps shipping, and it's keep the shipping velocity is much higher than others. And they keep the listing strategy is awesome, and everything keeps growing in the way you want to see. What do you think like the next catalyst will be? Let's say for Lighter, where Robinhood had this insane movement during COVID time, right? Like, what do you think? Something like not something like that, but anything that is where the uptick is going to just be exponential, let's say, for Lighter in the coming months or years. You see?
Yeah, sure. So I think that the one thing that a lot of crypto traders are not seeing is the US attitude shift towards crypto, especially from the SEC and CFTC level. Now, this is mainly for trading systems, and there's also the clarity, but I actually don't know if the clarity is going to actually come this year. But the US institutions have still largely been unable to, access crypto fully. Now, I say that with an asterisk. They have been able to buy and sell to some extent, but there's various legal structures that they've had to set up to, buy and sell Bitcoin and Ethereum and other crypto assets. And with clarity, that should really clear up and really make, and it's hard to, I guess the TLDR is like they've been able to buy, but not to their full capabilities. And they also have clients that want to buy, so they're operating as like a dealer, a broker dealer, a dealer, derivatives dealer. Like there's a bunch of different licenses and stuff like that. So now, why does that matter for Lighter? So we have a SEC that's preparing to bring stocks on chain, right? So there's going to be a change at the infrastructure level for the stock market. This is a big, big, big project. It's going to take 18 months probably. He said this Q4 of last year. We to the we have made some progress in 6 months, but we're inching closer to that day where, oh my God, stocks 24/7. Right now, Lighter and Hyperliquid are in this in between era where you can trade SpaceX, you could trade the S&P, you could trade QQQ, Nasdaq on chain with a perp, right? They are moving towards where they want to move towards where like you could trade everything on chain. So where does Hyperliquid and Lighter sit in that world, right? They are already doing what the SEC wants the entire market to do. So, and that's why you see CME. I don't know if you check the CME stock, and they're actually getting upset and they're like suing the CFTC on the prediction market stuff. So they're like, wait, 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 wait. What are these crypto blockchain nerds doing over there? It's kind of funny to see them kind of like they're the casino owners of TradFi, and they're like, wait a second, these new casino owners, they can't be doing this. Like they're breaking the rules. Well, sorry, like they want the government, the SEC and CFTC, they want the direction to go this way. So they're kind of like, oh my God, we have to adapt. So what is the like sort of catalyst for Lighter is like, well, isn't it kind of weird that Lighter is kind of doing the thing that the SEC and CFTC they're trying to drive the markets towards? Like imagine commodities 24/7. Like, well, we already technically have some of this stuff, but like it's just that Lighter is already there. The infrastructure is there. I think the major unlock will be the license that they're in the process of getting. They will be the first ever decentralized exchange to get a CFTC on-chain derivatives license. There's no other DEX that has that for the US. So that is a major unlock. And what does that unlock really like for the investor listening or the trader listening on this call? Um, Basically, the citadels of the world, trading companies, trading firms that need to have these that can only trade on venues with licenses can finally enter lighter, right? And they're not entering with, $10
Yeah,
million. They're entering with 100 million. They're entering with 500 million, 1 billion dollars, right? Like that's their limp bet. Their limp bet is like, 500 mil. So, and what does that do? That's better liquidity on lighter. There's more trading opportunity. It unlocks a bunch of different things when you have more TVL. So
yeah,
that's really the unlock play for a lighter access, getting the license, being the first. Hopefully, I think they're on track to being the first. They're definitely the first to apply. um, Whether or not they're the first, I think they're gunning to be the first, and that is an edge that no other dex has, not even hyperliquid. So that's what I'm super bulled up about, and I think, I'm excited to get better liquidity on the equity stuff, especially if large TradFi market players enter to market
yep.
make Robinhood on lighter, market make Palantir, Google, S&P 500, SpaceX. We can go through the whole AI complex, SanDisk, NVIDIA, uh, and all that semiconductor names. But
Yeah, definitely agree. I think that's like the current, what they like to call it, bottleneck.
the
uh,
bottleneck bros. Yeah.
like I think the crypto side of things have good liquidity on lighter. We just need. I mean, I think the team is also pushing for the RWA side of things, just like every other perp dex.
Oh, but
In this,
I trade SPY and QQQ. The large
yeah,
indexes have no issues.
even
Some
I
of the
think
other stocks are,
gold and silver are good as well.
yep, exactly. Yeah, I traded some gold on lighter too. I trade SpaceX. SpaceX, it's actually really good for SpaceX. Earlier in the year though, Q1, I will say lighter had a problem with some of the liquidity on the single name stocks, but
Yep.
they know that's where they need to focus, and they've improved a lot. Is it perfect yet? No, but I think it's improved a lot. Where I'm able to do decent size, not like full size, but pretty good size.
Yeah, and also one of the things I've seen is I think when STRC was listed, everyone was like, why are they listing STRC? This thing is like a stable thing, like a stable coin at $100. And now, like over the last every 1 week or so, everyone's scrambling to find the place where can I trade STRC, and it's live on Lighter itself. I mean, people can argue that a little liquidity is better on hyperliquid. Obviously, it is, but I just like that the team has this foresight on what the community wants and what they might want in the future. So that's something kind of good to see. Usually it's reactionary, so if it's good if it's the other way around as well. But yeah, I think we've been bull posting lighter for a bit. You want to talk some more about the markets, what's happening? Are we going to what's like the summer plans and stuff? But I'll leave the floor to you. Why don't we get started with Bitcoin if you like?
Yeah, sure. I'm happy to share my thoughts on the market. So I think, oof, it's been a tough year overall for the market. I think that if you've been a very week to week sort of trader, maybe having a view for a week is sort of like where I've been staying, but I think it's time to start shifting into higher time frame. I mean, so I think we're close to a bottom. Now, I know everyone's trying to short this 60K level to 50K. Now, I don't think it's going to be that easy, to be honest. Like
Yeah,
and Saylor, everyone's saying Saylor is going to explode. It's not going to explode. It doesn't work that way. He's not close to liquidation and stuff like that. But it's not good for MSTR. It's not good for STRC. Just the sentiment is not good for BTC either. So he's got a target on his back. So I think Bitcoin, I think over the course of Q3 is a place to place some multi-month sort of positioning. Um, so I'm talking high time frame positioning. If you see it stab towards 55, if I see it stab towards 55, I'm a buyer of spot. Do I care if it goes to 50 from there? 10% down? No, I'm not going to put all my chips in at 55K. I'm going to leave it the quarter, the full Q3 as like this DCA window, where I'm not expecting for my spot returns to materialize in the same month. I'm expecting for these to materialize 2027, right? So when I bought light, it's kind of like when I bought lighter at 80 cents in March, was I expecting a 2x to happen in April? No, I mean, I knew that after such a terrible, down move in Q1 that this thing's going to take a month to bottom out. And, it's like people look at UKG and me, it's like, oh, how lucky are you? You bought lit at 80 cents and now it's at $1.80 and you got a 2x, right? So oh, that was a lot of luck. I mean, we sat through a terrible price action for 3 months, and then we had to chop it
Yeah,
out for another 2 months,
it
and
was
now we
so
got our 2x.
it was so awful. Like you would think that, oh my god, hyperliquid is going and the lighter is showing a little strength. Oh my god, but we finally might, pump together. But nope, every time a 10% candle followed by a minus 15% candle. But finally, here we are.
Yeah, yeah. It needed a month to chop out. So I think Bitcoin needs the same thing. It needs probably more than a month to chop out a low here. Um, so I'm starting to get interested on, spot buys for quarterly holds. Now, for the more short-term traders, I think that
Yeah,
I think next week, there's two ways the market can go in my eyes. Like
yeah,
we're coming into a new quarter, so it's going to be quite volatile. I think that there's a chance that the shorts get blown out here and we do like a pretty big, like, I don't know, 10% bounce on Bitcoin early Q3. So I'm talking early first couple of weeks of July. Potential 10% bounce.
yep.
Let's say we just accumulate down here at the 58, 57 level. Like I would definitely try to play that with like a tight stop on perps for a move up to like 67. It could even extend and like because there's a lot of shorts trying to play this move to 50. Even I'm in a small short right now, but I know I'm not going to stay in the short for a swing to 50 from here. Like I'm really on a coin flip type of trade right now where like if I'm in the short right now from 61 and change, I want to get out around like 57 and a half, like 57 and a half K, and I'll try to flip long for a move to 67 to 70. But if I'm wrong, I'll be wrong right away at 57 and a half, and I'm going to say bear game on. We're going to 50 soon, and I'll
Yeah,
be a buyer at 50. So I'm being really not flip-floppy, but more so really dynamic here that hey,
yeah.
things can really bounce here but at the same time they could really fall. There's reasons for it to fall as well. Stocks not responding well to the FOMC from
The,
March.
and the number one reason for CT is soul being strong.
Oh my God, yeah, the Ansem. Look, I think Solana will have its day.
Yep.
Um, will I buy? So like every bottom in crypto, like you either do the first shot, like it's kind of like where do you want to buy on the right side of the chart before it goes up? Like yes, if you're a long-term investor for Bitcoin like I am, you can buy on the left side where like it does these jabs down. But some people they want like to wait for the base to form and then they wait to jump in. You might
Yeah.
miss the bottom 10%, you didn't bottom ticket, that's fine. At least you didn't sit through the pain like the lighter situation that we did for that
I mean,
month of chop.
just look at this low time frame shove. What the hell is this, right? Like it should not be. I mean, we are not like an average person should not be conditioned to trade this because if they are
No, man.
conditioned for this, they'll exhibit the same behavior when everything just goes up only. I feel like recently someone said, I think it was TG, he said, I don't believe in anything in crypto. And I think that even I have the same mindset for the last couple of years. Like I used to believe in Celestia. uh, right? So I don't believe in anything anymore, but I have one conviction that's lighter. But in general, I think you have to condition yourself to be a bull coming months where just like completely turn off the bearish bias because if these things do turn, the good coins, you won't get an easy entry and everything's just gonna, accelerate in a way crypto usually does. I mean, if you're following the same kind of mechanics, but yeah, I think to your point, right? I wanted to long here 58, 57 stuff, but I just didn't like how these, wicks were looking and this was not sweeping properly. And I just didn't like it and I kind of avoided this whole thing. I played it like a small bounce to 60K, but that's about it. And unless this goes above 62, I don't have that much conviction outside of just scalping. Uh, but do you like, there's so many on the Twitter are saying that, uh, like we've kind of swept this, and everyone that they're defending 59, 60K very hard. We'll bounce to maybe 71, 72 over the summer, and then we'll nuke in August, maybe the slow bleed. Is that kind of right framework for you as well?
So yeah, I mean, I think there's two ways the market. So I like to base. I used to like my base to base Bitcoin based on equities because feel like I have a better read on equities. Um, I have a bullish tilt on equities into sort of like end of July. Around August is when I sort of want to sort of sell some stocks. So that's why
Yeah,
I think that Bitcoin could potentially bounce too, into mid to late July. There is a possibility for that, and maybe if we replay this in 3 weeks, that we are at 70K, 72K, because there's just too many people trying to short this, and Saylor comes out on Monday and it says, "Oh, I raised $6 billion, and I don't know, maybe raising the yield won't actually do anything." But there are ways for this market to reverse really, really quickly. I know things are terrible right now. People are losing money. Like
yeah,
you have to really, if you're trading, you're probably trading hourly and you're scalping, a couple percent here and there. Um, but there is a story that could happen where this thing turns around. Now, I know that this thing looks like it's about to lose 60K like even in the next hour. And yes, that's definitely possible. But I think that at that point, you have to think, okay, what else is going to be more bearish than this? So, I think there is a tail scenario where Sailor really gets put into pain and Bitcoin goes flat for like a quarter.
yeah,
It's not my base case right now, but it's something I'm worried about that could take us to 40. Um, but for now, like what has been working for me is having like a monthly time frame and a weekly time frame view of
yeah,
Bitcoin. And a lot of that goes off of just looking at Monday high and Monday low and seeing like, okay, where is this market trying to take us? Are we going to
yeah,
reject Monday high on the early week, and that's it. Because this week, I mean, we never traded above Monday high. After that Monday high was set, boom, the whole week's direction. And if you just respected that for the last 4 weeks and you just traded that trend, you would have probably made your whole quarter, just in the last 4 weeks, like just respecting Monday high, Monday low. So if you want to make a technical sort of argument, you can put it that way. I think that there is a chance for a bounce to 67, 70. But if we're wrong, it's gonna be very obvious. But the sad part is that you're not gonna have a good short position. Like you're gonna be in the short, and there's all these like resting bids here at like 58, 57, 56, 55. I think there's like tons of like bid
yeah,
liquidity. So it's not gonna be an easy, in my opinion, just straight shot down unless there's a catalyst. Like even for example on Friday, Trump was already like, attacking Iran again, and the market didn't really go down. Like we've been going up, right? We've been going up all Saturday. We only went
yeah,
down, the last couple of hours, I guess, because we just swept some highs, and I don't trust weekend bounces personally, but like
yeah.
what's going to take the market down? I don't know. Is it going to be the
I think
sentiment of Sailor is bad for sure.
I
Um,
think that the Monday, the announcement on Saylor usually is very volatile, and that 1 or 2 hours where what he does, I think everyone is praying, please Saylor sell couple billion. Let's be worth it. But, I mean that Wolverine meme sitting on the bed, everyone's looking at that tweet, like whether he sold or he bought or what did he do. But I just think that this whole thing is overblown, and I'm seeing a lot of tweets of we're not going to bottom until Sailor is gone or Sailor is squeezed out. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think he's going to be squeezed out. Not this cycle. I think eventually he's going to stop buying. At some point, he'll sell some, and that's just going to mark the bottom. I think Flood or someone who said that Saylor's couple billion sell into V recovery is like the most likely outcome. But I agree
Yeah.
with you. Like this doesn't need much of a catalyst. It can be a small thing, and the market can run with it, and we're just going to get bounce
Yeah,
across
yeah.
the board.
And
And
if he sells 2 billion, okay, sure. Like actually he should have did that like
yeah,
3, 4, whatever weeks ago, 5 weeks ago it was. Like he should have just did that instead of this 32 BTC thing. I think we would have traded probably a little bit. I don't know actually if we would have traded the same way, but like people, the sentiment is just really, really bad. Sentiment is awful. It's gotten to the point where, whales don't want to buy until like he's liquidated. The liquidation part is it's quite complicated. I can't say that I understand it fully.
yeah,
From my understanding, the Bitcoin needs to drop to like 20K and then needs to move sideways in a 0.5% range for like 6 months. And then he's cooked basically. He has to actually liquidate. But what is the likelihood of that happening? I think you need it's like if if Bitcoin does drop and do this 0.5% volatility thing, you know, is it possible? Yes, it's possible. I don't see what would drive that right now unless it's like a full-blown stock market 1929 recession. I do see a huge correction for the stock market coming. But is Bitcoin? I think Bitcoin would just chop in like a 5-7% range. I don't think that would just nuke it and have no buyers ever again, kind of thing.
yeah. 100%. What you're like, everything is kind of, you know, we talked about like what's kind of keeping this market afloat. It's like this AI trade, and every dip is being bought. And like in someone said, I think like in crypto, minus 15% is regular, and everyone is just waiting for more downside. And in stock market, minus 15% is a crash, and everyone's just plowing everything they have. What's your like current read, as you said you trade stocks as well, in general of equities? People are saying 8K by September. What's your current read?
Yeah, so I don't think that we have a reason to do a crash. I think the AI side of the stock market, yes, there are some really, really frothy areas, and like that's where you get your minus 20% moves intraday. And then the next day it's like plus 20%, like on Micron. Yeah, this was crazy. Trading this was crazy. Well, we could talk about Micron, but for the larger index, I don't see a reason for crash. Do I see a reason for consolidation and correction? I do. But at the same time, I feel like the earnings, so stock, it's very different from crypto. Stock
Yeah,
market, it's not like, oh, we're gonna sweep the high and the high sweep is in, and then boom, we're gonna shoot down. Like that's like their crypto trader mindset where okay, swept Monday high, now time to max short, and it's gonna just drop 20%. No, and like in stock market, if you do that, you're gonna lose your money really fast. It goes on earnings, and earnings have been very, 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 very good.
yeah,
The only thing that can spook this market right now, I think, is macro or something political. And the macro guys, I think, are worried about inflation. I think actually the inflation numbers haven't been that bad.
yeah. There have been
Um,
like the PCE stuff recently. This week was, I think it was
yeah,
good, and like overall, like even the new Fed chairman, that was also not that crazy. I think uh, he's not Jerome Powell, but the way he calms markets and stuff. But in general, like that was not anything alarming. But uh,
no,
yeah,
I actually think people, well, there's a lot of different takes on this. Like he was very, very hawkish. I think that he had to be hawkish to sort of demonstrate independence from Trump. But ultimately, I think there's some politics behind this, and I think that he's a Trump supporter. I won't go into details. You can look that up on Google or ChatGPT or Twitter. But I think that ultimately he's not going to hike rates, which is what the market thinks, and that's why the market has been trying to choppy. If you just put the S&P 100 on the daily or the weekly, you should really look at the S&P on like the weekly. If you're looking, unless you're trading intraday, like for scalps and stuff, but like yeah, the market is gonna maybe test the Fed and maybe go down, but is that a legit reason for like a sustained bear market? I mean, look at this chart. Like, if you were bearish for more than 1 month or 2 months, maybe in 2022 when we had the rate hike cycle, which made sense to be, bearish, but you have to be really tactically bearish on this. Like, so maybe we go down because of the Fed chair being tested and like, oh my God, you can't be hiking. So we're going to go down, or the fear of hiking is enough to scare the market a little bit. But what are you going to short this to 5,000? Like some bears are saying, like I don't think so. Not on Trump's watch, at least. Like he's not going to let that happen. So I think this is a great opportunity for stocks to consolidate and for us to get back in on some maybe non-AI names. I think non-AI names, and that's why I've been like posting about SpaceX and Robinhood. I will get back into AI names later on, but I think there's a chance for non-AI stocks to do well.
Like
Um,
I think
and
someone said this like Mac 7 is time to be magnificent again.
oh my God, I actually want to get it. I love Google. Google is the number one stock I bought in the March, April timeframe. Uh, and I sold it. I sold it a little bit too early, but then my second sells were actually nicer. And I really like Google. I think now it's going to take a couple weeks to base out here, but I don't think Google is going to go away anytime soon.
Yeah.
It's just that people are
The
not
one
happy with the
the
hypers.
one
Like,
that looks cooked is this.
oh my God, Microsoft, yeah, does not look good.
Yeah,
I don't like how it stabbed below that low.
it's like I think it's below the 200 MA, but yeah, outside of like the big ones, this one looks the most cooked. But I feel like the flow of capital, I think, into safer names. We've been seeing like uh, a lot of exotic uh, stock market like kind of go up. I think the Korean stuff has done incredibly well, and I mean it's so volatile as well, right? Like one day you look at it's minus 20%, and the next day it recovers the entire dump. So it's very hard to navigate. But if you're someone who's just a bull and bought some good names, I think everyone's happy. Uh, but I want to dive into another thing. I think you also mentioned you're an options trader, right? And
Yep.
one of the things I wanted to understand and kind of get your thoughts as well is, have you seen, like you said, you are mainly trade on deribit and stuff, but we've been seeing like decent traction on stuff like Derive, and this used to be previously Lyra. I mean, they kind of rebranded, but they've been doing a lot of there's a lot of activity, even on the altcoin side, long tail stuff. Like, what are your thoughts? Like, how does options growing affect market structure in general? Any thoughts there?
That could be as big of a topic or as small of a topic as you want in terms of how it affects market structure. Like for example, in equities, it's a very big deal because options dominates the market, and then you have all these like gamma pinning effects and expiration impacts on that might have impact on the spot price itself, um, because there's instruments that take direct impact from options expiring, and then depending on the open interest. So we don't have to go that in depth, but I think that for crypto, I think I can speak to. So basically, like the native side is not large enough to have an impact on spot right now,
Okay.
for a lot of like gam like in TradFi, you ask like like a trader like what are they looking at? They're probably looking at options data. In crypto, it's like what does a trader look at? They're looking at perps data. They're looking at funding. They're looking at open interest. They're looking at where the positioning is and where can positions get attacked. Where can they be put in under pressure or in pain. Like for example, Bitcoin this week I think took a stab below 59. I forgot what the breakdown level. It was like 59. If we lost 59, people were going to short it to 50. Okay, and then it bounces to 61 almost in like 15 minutes. And it's like, that's like when you get like a lot of offside positioning that runs into spot bids. So for TradFi, that's options. Now, I think crypto options is still relatively underdeveloped. It's very hard to get crypto options right. I think there are projects like Derive that are taking a stab. I think Paradex is also doing crypto options.
Yeah.
Paradigm is the parent company of Paradex, and Paradigm does 1/3 of Deribit's volume. So yeah, I mean, we could take it deeper than that, but I guess the main thing to know for now is that like Bitcoin options, yes, there are like specific gamma levels are that can provide like some
So
sort
when
of
a
like
headline, so when you see some headline saying 10 billion option expiry on
it's
Friday,
nothing.
it's a
Yeah, it's
nothing
nothing.
but right? Usually nothing.
It's a nothing burger. It's a nothing burger because it's like a $10 billion expiration for a $1.5 trillion asset. Now,
Yeah.
when you have equities, you have equities like it's it's every single quarter is breaking record. I mean, I guess you can say the notional, you can calculate that the notional goes up, but the number of contracts expiring is I think what people should really track. Um, and that it does have an effect on S&P 500 and Nasdaq. That's definitely what I look at on a daily basis, where the gamma levels are. I definitely check it on the weekly and definitely for OpEx. Um, but on crypto side, it does. So we're at the quarter end, and you can notice that there's a lot of weird price action, right? So quarter end, month end, this is like when a lot of weird price action happens. You get these weird wicks. It shoots back up. It goes back down, and you got a bunch of people selling spot to close out the quarter. Like, okay, Bitcoin's not working. We're gonna sell it because it's not
Right.
working, and we're a momentum-based fund, and it's not doesn't have any momentum, so we're gonna sell it. And then there's people that are trying to buy it for mean reversion because they're a mean reversion fund, and it's like, okay, we're gonna buy it here. And then you have all the other traders that are like momentum short from 59 to 50, and then they get liquid. So and then we go down, and longs get liquidated, and then the shorts get liquidated because the spot buyer stepped in, and so quarter end is really, really important, and we're about to do a quarter end right now.
Yeah. Awesome. I mean, Professor, this has been insane. We've almost hit an hour, but I have final few questions for you, and I'll let you go. But this is something we've been asking all traders. A lot of young traders check our stuff, and kind of look for advice and guidance. And one of the things I usually ask is, how do you come back from big losses? Everyone has few of those, and in general, like any advice for young traders out there, especially because you're unique, because you are in the TradFi world, you're in the both equity side and crypto, and right now both feel like are converging in terms of the perps landscape. But yeah, any kind of advice for people starting out or just in a rough spot right now, what would be your like number one advice?
Yeah, sure. So I'll take the first one was around big losses. I think that I've had my fair share of big losses. I mean, I've been trading for 10 years now, almost 11, and I would be lying to you if I said that I haven't had major, major losses. I think every trader goes through a major loss, a catastrophic loss in his career. Um, at least once, and maybe even twice. I'm talking 90% liquidation. Something went wrong, right? And that is almost like a rite of passage, some people say. But if that happens to you, you need to, first of all, take some time off. I think even Stanley Druckenmiller took, I think 3 or 6 months off. He didn't even look at a chart. Um, when he had his major loss and he came back. So you don't need to do 3 months. I think I did personally like 3 months as well when I had my first catastrophic loss. And I really wrote down in a journal like what went wrong? How can this never happen again? Um, and luckily, I had a job at the time, so I was able to work and build back up my capital. You know, whatever account you're starting with, it could be a 100K account, 500K account, 10K account. You just have to build back up your capital. There's this thing in crypto, by the way. I just want to take a sidetrack that having a job, you're a loser. And I think that's a terrible, terrible, terrible thing to teach young people. Um,
Exactly.
just that is just bubble talk that happened in 2020. Having a
Yeah.
job is a good thing.
I mean,
If you have a
sorry to interrupt you, but this permanent underclass meme has, I think it's a meme. It's a meme, of course, and we laugh it out. But I know so many people who take it so seriously that if you don't do this by this age or something like that, they just take it so seriously. But yeah, continue.
Right, yeah, we could talk about that for a second too, but I think just having a job and having a stable foundation as a trader is really, really important. You need to have a stable mindset because you can't enter each week and each month and each day with unstable foundations. You need to be able to think very clearly and make decisions on the fly when things are happening in real time. And if you are not in the stable mindset because of your loss, you cannot perform your job as a trader or investor. You just can't. So you need to have a stable mindset. And I think having a job, having structure, having a boss that's giving direction that has 45 years experience over you listen to that person, and hopefully they're a good one. Not all bosses are good, but at least you're learning some structure, some foundation, and you're getting paid to do that. Um, so then, then you can go, full time as a trader after you have like a stable foundation. So that's how I would handle a large loss. Like take some time off, write down in your journal what happened, and how can we never make this happen ever again? What risk management principles am I going to take, and do not break those rules. A lot of it comes down to risk management, and when you're trading, you're putting on risk. You're taking risk. Are you taking the right risk? Are you taking it at the right time? Are you taking it the right size? Like, there's a bunch of these questions that you need to figure out. Everyone has slightly different ones. Your audience can Google all of the other common ones. The second thing is like advice in general for young aspiring traders, right?
Correct.
So this question I think is, as big as or small as you want to take it, but the business of trading and investing has been the same as it has been for, the last 100 years. Just the things that move on the screen, the names might change, right? The psychology of it doesn't change. Um, so if you're a young trader and you're aspiring to be a trader, I think that my best advice to you is learn what style of trading works for you and stick to it. For example, I trade options, and my friends, a lot of them trade perps on crypto. I trade options, and when I first started trading out, I was making $100 per day. Okay, this was in 2017. I made $100 per day. My goal was to make 300 so I could quit my job. Um, And then eventually after 2 years, I was making $300 per day, right? And I was doing it consistently, very consistent $300 a day strategy. I almost had like a 90% hit rate.
Yeah.
Um, meanwhile, my friends on perps, they were trading and they said, "Yo, professor, I just made $20,000 in one day." And the next day, they're like, "I'm down 50,000." And then the next day, "Oh my God, my account's gone." So what I'll say is find a trading strategy that generates consistent gains,
Yeah.
right? You guys are people are posting these like fake P&Ls. Like if math, just do the math. If you generate $500 per day, people think, "Oh my God, you're terrible. Like you're broke, you're poor." But I have a strategy that does this for on a weekly basis for options. And you need to build that strategy. Only when you build that strategy can you start doing more riskier strategies where it's like really directional trades. Like for example, this Bitcoin stuff is like very directional based. Um, but you need to have that core foundation in your portfolio that's like income generating almost like a
Correct.
consistent, strategy that generates some percentage of your portfolio per week, per
Yeah.
month, per quarter. Then you can start talking about like, the degenerate stuff on crypto Twitter, 50x leverage on Bitcoin and stuff like that.
I think this perfectly applies, and the timing is great as well because if conditions are great and we are truly so back, crypto is like one of those places. Even everything else is also similar, but crypto especially is this space where there's so many things coming from this side, and everything's so attractive. Like last cycle, we had Solana memes, AI coins. At least in 2025, we had all so many narratives, so many things doing crazy, and you feel like you're missing out if you're not part of this. But recently, I've kind of discovered and talked to so many traders through the this particular series. Is many of them said, I've just been trading Bitcoin the last 1 year, man, and I've been so consistent, and I
Yep.
don't care about anything else. I just trade Bitcoin. I just trade, capture these 1-2% moves on a consistent basis, and I'm able to compound. And when things really turn, yes, I'll buy some spot on different altcoins and stuff. But yeah, that's great advice right there.
That's exactly what people, yeah, I think I agree with that. I think like, look, if you can generate a 1% move on Bitcoin directionally every single day, just log on, you say, oh, I'm not going to trade today. There's nothing here. My setup is not there. Don't do any. One of the things I learned is there's some days where you don't do anything. Like I had to repeat this to myself.
It's so
This
hard.
was one of my hardest lessons actually when my second year trading, because I was I'm not perfect now either, but one of the things that I thought was you every single day you need to be, oh my God, I gotta be clicking buttons, I gotta be doing this, I gotta be doing that. No, there are some days where you're just watching and waiting for the price of Bitcoin or whatever asset you're doing to do what you want it to do, and then you have to have an if this happens, then do this scenario when it doesn't do what you want to do. Um, but yeah, like I think if you just Bitcoin trades really technically, which is a really good playground to actually learn on the low time frames, especially like, very basic stuff like Monday highs and Monday lows. That type of thing was is really important for the direction of the week too, for directional traders. Um, is it the best place to trade options right now? I would say no, sadly, even though um, there's more money to be made trading options on the AI stuff right now because the volatility is so high.
Yeah,
You sell if well, be careful selling them. You just gotta pick your spots wisely. But there are definitely good places to buy like weeklies and play around with zero DTEs as well.
yeah,
So, but I think Bitcoin is a really good playground to learn on. You don't even need leverage. I know that if you have a small account and you're starting out with, $10,000, $5,000, I know many people who've traded 10,000 to 100, then they go from 100 to 500, and they go from 500 back to 250, and then they go from 250 to 100 again, and they're like, oh shit. And then they go from 100 to 1 million. Like I know at least 8 people that are able to do that with just Bitcoin.
yeah.
Um, but you need to have stable foundations. You need to have a right mindset. You need to take it very seriously. Like I know your audience might be very young, but if you want to be very serious about this game, I treat it like a game, a sport, as but you need to make it think like it's a business. Hey, this is a business here. Like I'm doing business. This isn't just some gambling machine. Well, a lot like a casino where we just go every single day. We play a couple casino games and then I go home with some money. Like, hey, no, I have a strategy. I'm gonna play my strategy. If my strategy cannot be played today, I'm not playing.
Yeah.
And that was one of the hardest things for me to learn, at least.
100% wise words. But yeah, this has been awesome. One of the longest episodes on our podcast. But yeah, Prof, I'll call you that. But yeah, this has been amazing. G lighter again. But yeah, thank you so much for your time. And hopefully, we'll revisit a lighter bull case maybe in a couple of months when we're hitting all time highs or something. But
There's
yeah,
a
it's been,
huge call. There's a huge, I think Q2, end of quarter two call happening next week on July 2nd for lighter.
yeah. I mean, lots of exciting stuff. But yeah, it's been a pleasure. But yeah, looking forward to the next one. Peace.
Really fun, really fun. Thank you for having me. Cheers.